Hello and welcome back to Patrick's. Sorry for the corny intro. Today, what I'd like to attempt to make are two floating shelves. I have a bunch of cookbooks and cooking magazines and stuff like that I'd like to store open in the kitchen, and my wife and I decided that right here would be a good spot. Now, these floating shelves that I'm thinking of making are not of my own creation. I've seen them on YouTube. I can't remember who I would say, but it's going to be basically a 2x4 or 2x6 and pipes, and that's really it. Gonna screw it into these studs. Gonna do two floating shelves. All these books are currently under my desk, just taking up space, and I'd like them to be out here for some extra shelf space as well. So I have a little bit of running around to do this morning, but on my way back, we're gonna stop by Home Depot, get the supplies, and this should be pretty simple. I feel like I say that every video, and every video I way overcomplicate it or just make stupid mistakes. So come along and let's see how bad I mess this up. Here's the deal. This, I don't believe is a load-bearing wall. Doesn't really matter, but there isn't a stud here for a while. The only really places for a stud are right here. Or the only studs I find are right here. So because it's gonna have a lot of books and it's going to be, it's probably gonna be holding quite a bit of weight. I'm gonna put the shelves. I want the shelves screwed into studs. I know I probably should just do that anyway, but I do have, like, you know, those load-bearing things to screw into drywall. But studs best. So, with that being said, two shelves, like so, a key and a key, should be good right here. There, and I think that'll be the bottom shelf. So then the question becomes, how wide is this? Should be using pencil here. So I'm going to be screwing into it anyway. This is just under 2 feet. So, assuming, I want it to be flush here, for sure. And it needs to be screwed in here. So I guess I'm just going to screw it in kind of right at the edge. That's what we're going to do. 10 inches? I think the boards I got were 10 inches. So I say I'm just going to keep them that width and just not mess with them. I think that's plenty. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to take a trip outside and we are going to cut the 2x10 just pine I got at Home Depot, chamfer the edges. We're going to sand it down outside and then going to go ahead and hit it with a stain. I got, I believe, a chestnut stain, transparent stain. Just want to get a little dark. I don't want it to just kind of be raw pine. I want it to look semi-finished. So let's go outside and do that before it gets too cold. Excuse the wind that's going to be happening here. But let's mess that up. From here, we're going to chamfer the edges, sand it down. Then we got to bring it into the basement because it's a little too cold outside to stain. I'm not going to let it sit for very long. Then should be pretty much good to go up. So let's see how bad we messed this up. have the orbital sander, and we're gonna go from 80 to 120, and then finish off at 220, and then we're gonna go ahead and stain it. So here's the situation. It is freezing out. So we are going to time lapse the 120 and 220 grids, and then we'll come back downstairs when we're staining. So we are back in a semi-familiar setting, and I messed up a little bit, probably the first of many for this project. I was at Home Depot, picked up this stain, and it's a stain and sealer, but it says a solid color. I had picked out the semi-transparent, and I wasn't paying attention, and I guess the color I had picked out was only in solid color, not a semi-transparent. So, long story short, what I'm going to do, see how terrible this looks, is I'm going to paint it on, let it sit for a little bit, and then wipe it off. To hopefully make it more transparent. Because I don't want it to look painted. I would have just grabbed the paint. Picked up a chestnut stain. Oh, that is thick as, yep, that's just a paint. I don't know why I call it a stain. Well, you live and you learn. Yeah, what's the difference between a paint and a stain? If this is just a solid color. I'm not gonna let it sit for very long. Because this stuff's thick. But honestly, I like this. I like whatever that did. Ooh, look at that! It's not too bad. That is kind of exactly what I wanted. Let's do this other one. Damn, I really like this. This looks really cool. And this is not gonna be durable by any means. This is just a really soft pine 2x8 it is. But for a 10-foot 2x8, it was $12 at Home Depot. So you can't really beat it. I'm gonna do a time lapse, and we're gonna do the rest of this, and then we're gonna have to let it sit. So I really like how these came out. Let them dry for maybe like 30 minutes, something like that. I'm gonna potentially make a mistake right now. It's just a little darker than I had wanted. I'm gonna see if I can sand it with some of that 220, just make it a little bit lighter. I might regret this, but let's see. So I think it is doing something. So I kind of like what that just did, and I kind of don't like what it just did. I'm going to run a damp paper towel all over this upstairs, and then I'm going to try to mount it. So it's much later in the day, and we really just have to screw these in. I think that's pretty much it. So I was just playing around with my wife on positions. These should be a tiny bit lower. So that is what we shall do. Gonna mark it and then just screw it in. This was the mark. She wanted it just a little lower. And so that is what we will do. Well, that's stripped. And now, and that will make this the most level thing I've ever made. Double check. Heyo! Boom diggity. And then again, we're going to do that up here. So that worked out a lot better than I had anticipated. So I picked up some of these. These are not the right thing. The 3/4 EMT will fit around 1/2 inch galvanized just perfectly. And I only got one hook because these aren't structural or anything, just prevent the shelves from moving. So I'm gonna throw one on each of them, and we're gonna call this project done. So let's get in close for that. Heyo. This is all done, so let's go ahead and put the shelves on. Let's go ahead and put the books on the shelf and see if they hold up. And I think that is it. Now, we do have to get bookends so we can keep these stacked upright a little safer. That is how I would like them to stay, but I think for the time being, I'm going to leave them on their side so they don't kill our cat when he inevitably tries to jump up here. I'm going to do a little cleaning up here, and then we're going to close out. Okay, so that does it for this video. I'm really happy with how these shelves turned out. They're super simple, they're really ratty. I would not recommend using this kind of wood. It's super soft. It's going to dent really easily. I'm sure it's going to stain really easily. But I think it looks pretty good for maybe like an hour, if even, amount of work. And I'm just really happy with how it looks. My wife wanted us to do a little coffee station over here, so that's what we got set up as well. And I think it's a very nice addition. It's just 4 screw holes, which will be easy enough to spackle when we remove them, and we're all done here. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. So let me know in the comments how you think it looks. Let me know if you have any suggestions, comments, constructive, or just hate speech. Drop it below, and I will see you guys on the next one.